Charles Oliveira is going to want to walk into Chandler's range to tempt him to level change because of the pressure from striking. Chandler's going to want to be at distance because his ability to cover range is pretty amazing. I mean, he's so fast. So I pulled a couple of clips to show you. That's been recording 6 minutes of nothing, Jamie. Okay, I pulled a couple of clips to show you. It's the 0 to 60 off the market that's so impressive about Chandler. He's such a good athlete. I mean, he stands long, so it does make his lead leg vulnerable. But his ability to get in and out and just touch one time and not get touched in return. And, most of the time his opponents see him coming in and they see what's coming, but they get hit and they still try and counter and he's just not there to be hit. And, tempting them with his jab, fully commits to the jab. Just look at the way that he throws that jab. He stands low, so there's the double threat of a potential level change. He jumps in heavy on his lead leg, drives off his back leg, and places. He's really fully committed to that jab. But his opponents freeze up because they don't know whether he's level changing or not. Now, Pitbull here is trying to counter with a left hook. But part of the reason why Chandler gets away with this jab and throws it so hard is because he's level changing so low that even the punch, even if he doesn't land, the punch goes over the top of his head. He's just so good at stinging and staying out of range. But the challenge in this fight against Oliveira will be staying out of range. And that right hand it's Usman-esque. Even as Jimmy Smith said in commentary, even in slow motion, it's fast. It doesn't get a great deal more perfect than that. And the reason why this works so well is because what you'll notice, so if you look at where his feet are at the moment, he's going to reposition both feet before he throws his punch. And the reason he gets away with it is because he disguises it with his lead hand. He's going to fire this hand out as if he's throwing it, as if he's throwing a punch. So watch. He's going to reset both of his feet. Front foot moves, back foot jogs forward. I know the camera angles move slightly, but you get the point. Jogs both of his feet forward and throws that lead hand out there. You can see Pitbull's reached out to catch it. You can see his reach now, and because he's been throwing this jab over and over again, Pitbull's counter is that left hook, as we've just been looking at in that previous clip. So Pitbull goes to reach out, the punch is not there, and he sees the punch coming, but he's not there in time to catch him. That is just a beautiful right hand. He's so fast off the mark. And so basically what I'm saying is if he's at distance with Oliveira, his ability to hop in and smash him with that right hand. And it's not just his right hand either. We saw in his fight against Dan Hooker, he's got power in his left hand as well. Look at this. Look how quick he closes distance here. That is perfection, that is. This is a good example, so when he fought Ben Henderson, his recent fight against Henderson, we saw him use his opposite hand. He's been switching his stance a lot more, which, I think his developments working with Henry Hooft at Sanford, he feels far more comfortable on his feet and he's punching with power in both hands. He stepped through in the Dan Hooker fight and knocks him out, and he does the same here with Ben Henderson. And he's in a southpaw stance when he's throwing. That's a long left. It's almost exactly the same as his punch against Pitbull. But obviously from an opposite stance, showing that ambidexterity makes him a double threat. That means he can now switch stances to cut you down and reach you when you don't think you can be reached. His back foot's not even planted on that. And this is something else that I noticed as well. And thank you, Michael Chandler, for reminding me with this angle that I left in to remind myself. So thank you, me, previously. His second shot is always impactful. He has this consideration for the next punch he lands, because often he'll hit somebody and he'll see them drop. But at the same time as them dropping, he's not getting overexcited like that's the end of the fight. He's watching where they're going, and that second punch, that follow-up punch, is usually pretty crisp. This one against Ben Henderson, the actuality, when he gets hit with this straight left, although Hendo goes down, because he's so overextended, and you can see his punch is kind of turned up. Because he's overextended, it's not a full power punch. Hendo goes down, but he's looking at him here. You can see his head's turned. He's looking at Chandler. It's the next punch that finishes him off, and it comes right in and cracks him right on the top of the head. And that's the one that actually knocks him out, because that's the point where he goes down face first. So the danger is not only dealing with that speed of the first punch, but then also being completely disorientated when he steps in and cracks you with the second. And to follow up on that, the additional threat of, as he's throwing the power punch, you assume something's going to be coming behind it, whether that's another punch or a level change, and it opens up the hips for him to get pretty close in. And once he's in close, once he's got his hands on someone, he's so strong at manhandling them and controlling them. Look at that. See what he does there. His opponent has got a fantastic whizzer here. So his opponent here is driving down into the back of Chandler's shoulder, which is driving him to the mat. And Chandler does a great job. He circles around with his lower body. Circles around so he can get into a better position, puts his hand across the back of his opponent's head. So now he's turned this underhook into what was a strong whizzer for his opponent. Now he can start driving that over his back. Bear in mind, his opponent's shoulder's now being hyperextended. You'll see it as it's happening. So he's driving down onto the back of the head. That was a pretty good arrow, wasn't it? I'll have to keep practicing. He's driving down onto the back of the head, and now he's also driving this way with his other arm. So he's forcing his opponent to roll over onto his back. Wrap and then drive with that far arm. You see how that hand goes punch into the canvas? This one here. Drives to the canvas and forces his opponent onto his back. Takes side control, immediately pins that near side arm, and now it's doomsday. His opponent actually does a really good job of firing his arm out to prevent a great deal of ground and pound. And this is where you see a veteran move from Chandler, because he looks up at the screen. Where are we? Lands a couple of shots. Looks up at the screen, has a quick look where his opponent is. Now what he does, he's going to start to circle his arm back, and it's going to start pushing his opponent's arm over, which his opponent knows that he's vulnerable, so he tries to clear it, which then allows Chandler, he goes over the top, his opponent tries to block it, he bends his arm, flicks it back, and then comes all the way around and locks up that arm triangle. And this is such a strong position for him. This palm-to-palm grip. My old wrestling coach used to shout, "No big fingers." He meant thumbs. You go right over, and this is the grip. And you'll see him use this in this position with the head and arm, but also when he's in a rear naked choke position. I mean, you can see his upper body. He's got broad shoulders. He's got thick lats as well. So all of that clamping and controlling, everything's pulling into that grip, which is why it's such a strong position for him. It's developed from years and years of wrestling, and he nails this guy with an arm triangle, puts him to sleep. Does a great job of controlling it. That's the dog on the bone wrestling kind of thing I'm talking about. Look, his opponent bridges over here. Let's watch that in slow motion. His opponent bridges over here, but he stays clamped onto the upper body and scrambles and gets back to the side and finishes there. It's just lovely work. And, the threat of the right hand as well. He doesn't always need to put people down. He can always hurt them and in a scramble get into an advantageous position. This was his first fight against Eddie Alvarez. I think he was 8-0 at this point, and it was an absolute war. It was a great fight. Definitely worth a revisit. Chandler was just pressure. And as soon as Eddie started to turn there was nowhere he could go. He's in mount position here. You can see Chandler as grapevined his legs, so he's controlling on both sides. So what this allows him to do, because he's hooked under the legs, he's able to drive his hips down into Eddie Alvarez, which is pinning him square to the mat. Now you can see how spread he is, so he's keeping Eddie's legs pinned together, and he's also pressuring down on top. So when Eddie's turning, there's nowhere for him to go. He can't get his hips off the canvas. He tries to turn, but even as he's turning, you can see Chandler, he's got one hook here to control his turn, and he's got another hook here, setting up that rear naked choke. And because his hips are still so low, as Eddie's turning, he turns like still hips. Still look how low his hips are. Look at that pressure from Chandler's hips. It never ever raises above a foot and a half off the ground. Like that is level all the way through. He's just not. It's fantastic hip pressure. There's just nowhere for Eddie to turn. And as he turns, hooks fall in straight away. The pressure's still down on Eddie's back. And you can see how hyperextended his lower back is. And there's the palm to palm again, look. Very, very strong position for him. And Rick Horn again, another good grappler, another good wrestler, just manhandled by him. Manhandled and worn out and discouraged, and find himself in this position. And this is quite common as well, is Chandler will jump on someone's back, and while he's fighting for the rear naked choke, he already starts to drive his hips forward to drag them back. It's not the only time you'll see that. There's another example here where he clamps onto his opponent. He wraps around that neck, and then as he's finishing the choke, you can see how mean he is with it as well. As he's finishing the choke, he's already driving into their back. So he's not only is he hyperextend their back, but naturally he's lifting their chin up, which exposes the opportunity to throw in the choke. So I know it's just been a bit of a Michael Chandler whirlwind, but if we strip it down to the basics, so Chandler's going to want to control the center, and he's going to want to bounce in and out and keep testing with that jab. He's going to throw the jab to the head and to the body, and he's going to vary his targets. But then he's going to be looking to set up this power right. That power right can also now be the power left as well, because he's showing ambidexterity.